Speedway Report is produced and broadcast by the Zeus Radio Network for Racers Reunion Radio. Well, the safety of Pocono comes into question again. Matt DiBenedetto did not win the Cup race, but he won the fan vote from NASCAR for sure. And Tyler Reddick also gave it a great drive, too, on Friday night. We'll talk about all that and more. Welcome to Speedway Report, Monday, August the 19th. 2019, from the shores of Lake Norman in Race City, USA, Mooresville, North Carolina. I'm Patrick Reynolds, and thank you for joining the fastest half hour in racing. And have you joined our subscription list yet? Head on over to YouTube, look up the Speedway Report channel. You can see all these shows and all of our archives right on YouTube. Just head to Speedway Report with Patrick Reynolds. Grab yourself a free subscription, because that's all it costs to be part of YouTube, and never miss an episode, and check out all of our archived podcasts. So mid-August, the dog days of summer, and it was pretty busy. A little busier this weekend than last weekend. Let's tell you who won what around the world of motorsports. The Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Tour raced Saturday night for 500 laps in Bristol, Tennessee. Denny Hamlin was your winner. We've got a lot to talk about that one. Don't worry. And on Friday night, the Xfinity cars were there. Tyler Reddick was your winner, authored a pretty good drive himself. On Thursday night, the trucks ran as part of the weekend. Brett Moffitt was your winner last Thursday. What did you call it? The K&N Pro Series East was there at a doubleheader with the trucks on Thursday, where Sam Mayer won that one. NASCAR's Whelen Modified Tour got into action last Wednesday in Thompson, Connecticut. Doug Coby was your winner. My man kept it clean during the interview, too. Come on, you knew I was going to say something about it. Love you, Cobes. Good for him. Strong run, dominant car, good driver, good crew. He should be winning. If I didn't win, I'd be upset, too. And the West Series, K&N Pro Series West, we're out in Monroe, Washington. Pretty historic track out there. Lots of NASCAR history. Trevor Huddleston was the winner of the West Series there. IndyCars were in Pocono, Pennsylvania. We're going to spend some time talking about this race. Will Power was given the checkered flag. It was storm shortened. He was leading when lightning started coming into the area. Officials did the smart thing. Red flagged it, stopped the race before the rain because there was lightning in the area, and evacuated everyone from the grandstands. Safety first made all the sense in the world. The rain came a little while later, and that was that. However, with such a late green flag, whoever we want to talk to, IndyCar, Pocono Raceway, or NBCSN, the full 500 could have gotten in no problem if we had started it like noon, like we used to start all racing. But we have these, 3 o'clock greens, 2:30 greens. I don't know what it was, but too late, because we would have gotten in 500 miles and a hell of a lot earlier in the afternoon. Not a topic for tonight. I just thought I'd throw that in there. NHRA ran their final event before the U.S. Nationals in Indianapolis. They were in Brainerd, Minnesota. We're in Top Fuel. Leah Pritchett gave Don Schumacher Racing its first Top Fuel win of the season. Did these stats just go by me unnoticed? Sometimes they do. Yes, Don Schumacher Racing gets his first Top Fuel win of the year with Leah Pritchett behind the wheel. In Funny Car, Ron Capps beat Tommy Johnson Jr. That was an all-DSR final round. And in Pro Stock, Jason Line got his first win of the year. So a lot of stuff changing as we get to mid-August here, where the NHRA will have this weekend off in preparation for their big one the following week, the U.S. Nationals at Indy. Let's jump on over to the dirt tracks. The Lucas Oil late models were in Batesville, Arkansas for Topless 100 weekend. No, not what you're thinking. The roofs of the cars were removed. Come on, guys. Family show here. On Thursday night, Chris Madden won the preliminary feature. On Friday night, Scott Bloomquist found his way back to victory lane. And on Saturday night in the 100 itself, Madden liked Thursday night so much, he doubled it up and took the checkered flag on Friday night. Their cousins, the World of Outlaws late models, were up in Pennsylvania on Friday night at the famed Williams Grove half mile. Brandon Shepard captures the A main, and they made their way to Port Royal on Saturday, where Mason Ziegler took the checkered flag. World of Outlaw Sprints were at their traditional stop after the Knoxville Nationals up in Grand Forks, North Dakota. Donnie Schatz won the A-Main on Friday night. Keeping with the dirt, yes, we'll talk about ARCA. A couple of my favorite events of the year was when the ARCA cars hit the dirt miles. They were there in Springfield, Illinois yesterday afternoon. Michael Self captured the win, and USAC Silver Crown machines were scheduled to go on Saturday in Springfield. Rain got the better of them. That event has been rescheduled to September the 22nd. Back in the Northeast in Grandview, Pennsylvania, up on the hill, small block modified feature on Saturday night was won by veteran Dwayne Howard. And Brad Brightbill, with a famous last name from Pennsylvania, won the Sportsman main event. Closer to our studios home here at the Bowman Gray Stadium in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, we ended our season. Brandon Ward won the 150-lap NASCAR modified feature, but Burt Myers finished third, and he claims the track championship, his fourth in a row and 10th in his career. Burt Myers, 10-time track champion at Bowman Gray Stadium. All righty, lots to talk about this past weekend. One of the biggest stories was not a winner. Well, he was a winner in our hearts, winner in sentiment. He just didn't wind up in victory lane with a trophy. But Matt DiBenedetto drove the race of his life. Amazing run by this guy on Saturday night. Denny Hamlin passed him in the Levine family racing machine. Hamlin gets around him with only 11 laps to go, and Denny Hamlin is now the guy that shot Santa Claus coming through his house. Is the whole place was rooting for Matt DiBenedetto, including Denny Hamlin. Hamlin knew he was faster as he closed in on him and could get there, could get the job done, didn't have to rough him up, just passed him to do it. Now, Matt DiBenedetto looked to be a winner, was looking to lap Ryan Newman. Ryan Newman, one of the hardest guys to pass out there, doesn't give up a spot for anything, got into the left front of Matty D's car, and the thing plowed like a truck after that. Almost held on DiBenedetto for his first career win. Now, Matty D has had some low-level rides in the Cup Series, but it's great to start there when you're trying to get your feet wet and learn the tracks and learn the business and learn the series. He got word last Tuesday that he would not be back in the Levine Family Racing 95 car for next year. He left Go Fast Racing last year without a deal. He put himself out there. He bet on himself. He risked himself to get a ride. And he did. I think he stepped up with a better ride, Levine family. Casey Kane was there a few years ago before he stepped out of the ride. And with the closing of Furniture Row, Levine was the new satellite fifth team, so to speak, for Toyota and Joe Gibbs Racing. So this team has been coming along. They opened the year right out of the box fast. DiBenedetto led the most laps in February's Daytona 500, was a legitimate shot to win. And then he was in the top five when he got caught up in the big one, just as the sun was setting with only a few laps to go. But he was running in the top five, legitimately had a shot to win the Daytona 500. Now, since then, the first part of the season, he's been struggling, running in the upper 20s, just outside the top 20, about where the car is. But he's come alive in the second part of the season. He's got 1, 2, 3 top fives, I think. He was in the top five at New Hampshire, top five in Sonoma, California on the road cars, and put it into second place in Bristol, Tennessee. So close to winning the thing. After the two top fives, what happened? Well, last Tuesday, after we went off the air, it was announced, it's old news now, but Bob Levine and Levine family announced that Matt DiBenedetto would not be returning to the 95 in 2020. Well, what the heck happened? Well, you can kind of put the pieces in place of what is happening here. I think DiBenedetto was available and a darn good driver, so they put him in the car this year. If Levine Family Racing could have secured funding, they would have raced two cars next year, one for DiBenedetto and the other for Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell is ensconced in the Toyota program and with Gibbs Racing. There is no way Christopher Bell will be racing for an Xfinity Series only schedule next year. He is ready to move to Cup. Toyota has got a whole lot invested in this guy. Gibbs has a whole lot invested in this guy. They've got to put him somewhere for 2020. And here we are in August. There's got to be a drop dead date. As a guy myself who has worked on these teams before, I know what it takes to build these cars, get everything lined up, including personnel, all the ancillary stuff you need to create a race team out of nothing. There has to be a drop dead date where they knew they could, or it was a no-go time. DiBenedetto had to go. It's not the popular opinion, but it is the business decision. Bob Levine is a good dude and a good racer, so is everybody on that team. However, this is also a business, and that's the business decision that had to be made. Christopher Bell has not been announced as a driver, but you certainly expect that. At the beginning of this year, there was talk whether Denny Hamlin would even keep his seat at Gibbs. So when we began the season at February, when we talked about DiBenedetto had such a strong run at Levine, there was a lot of moving pieces, a lot of moving and shaking, a lot of flexibility, a lot of fluid in the lineup for all these drivers and cars. We wanted to see what would happen. Hamlin was rumored to be on the hot seat. Well, he has won 4 races so far this year, is in the hunt for the championship, won the Daytona 500, and looks to be in pretty good shape to challenge for a title here in 2019. The driver lineup pretty much isn't moving. Eric Jones will be re-signed. Kyle Busch, well, he's Kyle Busch. Martin Truex moved into the car. He's winning races. He's got a championship under his belt. Christopher Bell has been in the Toyota program for a while. He's got to move up out of Xfinity. There's no place for Matt DiBenedetto here. Now, what he did on Saturday night was better than any phone call, email, or typed up resume that he could do. Everybody knows the talent this guy has. We're seeing him outperform his equipment. He's that good. Levine's stuff is good, but it's not the same as the Gibbs stuff. Don't know what, I mean, they're getting the same equipment. They're getting the same stuff, but they don't have it running well yet until lately. And DiBenedetto is showing what he could do. Now, where can he go? I don't know. He should be in something that could win because his driving ability shows that he can win. And I would be surprised if he didn't park it in victory lane before the season is out. What a great story that would be. It's been a great story so far. I love to watch the struggle, the emotion. Matty D won the hearts of everybody watching on TV at the racetrack on Saturday night at Bristol. He was the star. He was the hero of that race. Congratulations to Denny Hamlin for winning. DiBenedetto was the star of that race. Now, the star of Friday night's race, another driver offered a pretty impressive drive. Tyler Reddick did win the Xfinity race. However, let's go back through all the hurdles that he had to clear. Reddick failed pre-race tech 4 times. So he had to start shotgun on the field, and then he had to make a pass-through penalty on pit road at the start of the race. He almost immediately in this race went 1 lap down. Now, there was very early caution. Lap 7 gave him the free pass back. And by the end of the first stage, Reddick was challenging for the lead. Spun out, almost took a few other cars with him just as the stage ended, and then worked his way back up through the through traffic, through the field, and he was second to Justin Allgaier when Allgaier had a flat with 11 laps to go. Reddick was there to capitalize and went on to the front. But if you fail tech 4 times, they make you start last. Then you have a pass-through penalty right as the green gets going. Oh, my goodness, you have a long night ahead of you. You've got a big, big hole to dig out of and get going again. Somehow they did it. They managed this. They managed their problem well, and they took it to the house, and Grave took home a trophy from Bristol. Nice checkered flag. I want to jump from Bristol, Tennessee, up the East Coast to Pocono, Pennsylvania, and I want to run a tip of the hat to Pocono Raceway and IndyCar in Pennsylvania. We talked about the late green flag, which I criticized. I'll give them a tip of the hat and a compliment for clearing the grandstands when lightning was in the area. Before it rained there, lightning was ahead of that storm as it closed in on the racetrack. We've seen this time and time again with safety of the fans, and it's important to keep them first. Actually, there were some people killed at Pocono a few years ago, and more than a few years ago, better than 5 now, in the parking lot at Pocono, but they did not start clearing the grandstands until a lightning storm was almost on top of the speedway. Fortunately, cooler heads prevailed here, and they stopped the IndyCar race, got everybody out of the grandstands. When the storm finally got there, they called the race and sent everybody home. Will Power, your winner. A lot of the talk at Pocono is talking about the safety of the speedway. This came up on social media a lot during the race, right after the race started, as we had another big first lap crash, much like we did 1 year ago with Robert Wickens. Wickens suffered a spinal injury. He's still rehabbing from that to this day, and I got a whole lot of respect and admiration for the fans. However, he was critical. Robert Wickens was critical of Pocono, of the track, of the safety standards there. Now, the first lap crash last year, it was driver error that caused it. When Wickens and Hunter Ray got together and they had a bad crash, Wickens got up in the fence. It was 2 guys racing. They crashed. Now this year we had Ryan Hunter-Reay again, Takuma Sato, Alexander Rossi, James Hinchcliffe, and Felix Rosenquist. And Rosenquist got up into the air, into the fencing. We had a red flag to repair the fence again. Now, fortunately, no one was injured in this, but as Wickens tweeted during the red flag for the fence repairs, how many times do we have to go through the same situation before we can all accept that an IndyCar should not race at Pocono? It's just a toxic relationship, and maybe it's time to consider a divorce. I'm very relieved, to my knowledge, that everyone is okay from that scary crash. Well, Robert, I love you, but I have to disagree with you here. I don't believe IndyCars should leave Pocono. I believe it's what we saw was a crash last year. Very sorry for your injuries. We saw another crash this year. This is part of auto racing. That turn 2 at Pocono is modeled after Indianapolis. Pocono is famous for its 3 turns, modeled after Trenton, New Jersey, Indianapolis, and Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The second corner at Indy, where both of these big crashes, or the second corner at Pocono, where both of these crashes happened, is modeled after the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's simply a 90-degree left-hand corner. There's 4 of them at Indianapolis. I don't believe we should leave racetracks just because we have bad crashes. I believe we should look at the cause, find out what happened, and make corrections and improve safety. Now, is there room to improve safety at Pocono? Clearly, yes, there is. Fencing, poles, and Pocono has been upgraded a lot over the last 10 years. Is there more work to do there? Yeah, I'll go along with that. I don't believe we should leave Pocono, though. It provides great racing. There's a lot of tracks that style of racing, your Texas, your Michigan, your Fontana, California, which we talked about a lot on this show, which they can provide some very scary crashes for this division of car. However, the racing is also tremendous, and it puts on a fantastic show. I believe that we should not be having bad crashes and then leaving a facility. I don't think that's the answer to anything. The most famous example, the biggest example, and I've done it on this show before, is February 18th, 2001. NASCAR did not leave the Daytona International Speedway after the death of Dale Earnhardt. But how much has safety improved, not just in NASCAR, but in auto racing overall because of the death of Dale Earnhardt? We looked at what happened. We analyzed it. We did a whole lot of diagnosis on it, and the sport made changes. I think we should do that. It is making changes from the death of Justin Wilson, which also occurred at Pocono. The sport didn't learn anything or improve from Robert Wickens' crash last year. Is it doing anything again this year with what we saw with Rosenquist getting up in the fence? These are the things we should be asking. I don't think we should be running away from a problem at Pocono. I should believe we should be charging towards it. Look at this in detail. What happened last year? The cause of these crashes was simply drivers. At 200 miles per hour, mistakes can be made. I won't criticize another race car driver for driving 200 miles per hour and causing an accident, not on purpose, causing a crash. It happens. It always has happened. It always will happen. What we can control is what happens during the crash and after. The cars, the fencing, the wall, the track, the safety response. What kind of equipment do we have? Helmets, seats, cars, chassis. Let's look at all this stuff. You would not recognize NASCAR now from 2001 with the safety improvements alone. We should say the same thing about IndyCar. Learn from Robert Wickens' crash. Learn from Justin Wilson's. Learn from Felix Rosenqvist. Crashes are always going to happen. They will. There's been so many at Indianapolis. We've got 3 more corners just like that there. I don't think it's fair to throw the Speedway under the bus for what happened. Driver error caused the crash. But let's look at IndyCar and Pocono Raceway to improve their programs and their safety aspects. And I probably said something like this about a year ago after Wickens' crash. A few more things I want to touch on before this week's show wraps up. The NASCAR East race at Bristol, Tennessee was full of a lot of guys that have watched way too much Days of Thunder and think rubbing is racing and bump and run is okay and we'll move them out of the way. And I saw a whole lack of talent in the NASCAR K&N Pro Series East race, but they say it in Days of Thunder and the Ricky Bobby movie Talladega Nights, so it must be cool and okay to do it. I was largely unimpressed with the driving in the NASCAR East Series. I certainly missed my modifieds at Bristol. They'd been part of the Wednesday night show at the trucks the past few years. They were off the schedule. They ran Thompson. The East cars and the trucks were moved to Thursday at Bristol. Heck, I missed my modifieds. The only thing I'd change is instead of a 150 lapper with a break at lap 75, let's run 200 laps with a live pit stop like modifieds were supposed to be. And I will give props to IndyCar for running on an Open Cup Sunday with the Bristol race Saturday night. Smart move to get your division out in front of racing eyes on Sunday afternoon. This coming up weekend, it's an off weekend for the Cup Series. The Xfinity cars will race at Road America this weekend. IMSA will be at Virginia International Raceway. NHRA will not be running as they prep for Indy as a traditional week off before they go to the U.S. Nationals. And the IndyCar race races Saturday night under the lights in St. Louis. There could have been an opportunity here for somebody to put their stuff on display this weekend on Sunday afternoon without the Cup cars. But the fact they are getting out there, I'm glad they didn't take the week off. I'm glad you guys are racing now that the Gorilla is taking a weekend off and some other forms of motorsports can catch the eyes of the racing world. And as we salute Motor Week Illustrated for Dave Despain, 5:35 on WTBS Saturday afternoons. Our Racer of the Week, well, we talk a lot about spirit, inspiration, effort, courage, and heart on this show. Racer of the Week, it's not always about victory lane, not always about the trophy, the big check, or the big win. And it certainly wasn't this week, but one of the biggest and most memorable second-place finishes that happened this week. Nobody remembers who finishes second is the cliche. This race on Saturday night at Bristol might just be the exception to the rule. Matt DiBenedetto is the Speedway Report Racer of the Week. Everybody in between our broadcasts, keep up on the world of auto racing with SpeedwayReport.com. This broadcast and all of our past shows are uploaded on the site. We also have a bunch of racing articles to read. Rhonda Beck is back with us. She's written a lot of short track stories in the past. She's been away from writing for a little bit. She's working on a new story right now. We'll have it up, I believe, this week. So come on back to SpeedwayReport.com and check out Rhonda Beck's work. Don't worry, I will flood it on social media as soon as we get it posted. Now, speaking of posting, we've got this show and all of our archives are on the SpeedwayReport.com website. On Facebook, it's Speedway Report with Patrick Reynolds. On the Racers Reunion Facebook page. Catch me on Twitter at Speedway Report and Speedway Pat. At racersreunion.com in the forum. If you're still a Racers Reunion fan, I hope you are. We're still there. We're uploaded all of our podcasts into the forum. And like I said at the top of the show, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just look up Speedway Report and get our stuff delivered to you every week. Big thanks to everyone who joined the Facebook live feed and the conversation. This weekend, it is still the end of August. Go see a race at a track near you. I want to thank all of the military, past and present, for the freedoms we enjoy as Americans in our daily life, including the simple things like bench racing right here on a Monday night. Freedom is not free, and a veteran paid that bill for us. To all of the men and women who are defending freedom and watching Speedway Report, take care of yourselves and come home soon. A special salute to the teachers, school staff, firefighters, police officers, and paramedics in our own communities. They are quiet and modest heroes every single day. God bless and thank you. You have been watching Speedway Report from the shores of Lake Norman in Race City, USA, Mooresville, North Carolina. Please like our Facebook page, Speedway Report with Patrick Reynolds, and follow me on Twitter at SpeedwayPat. Now, on the Drag Racing List Facebook page next is Drag List Live. You got BP, JB, and BS. Got you covered over there. So if you're on Facebook right now live, go to Drag Racing List. Pick up the conversation right there. I'll be back here live on Facebook in 1 week. It will be Monday, August the 26th. We will look at the IndyCars in St. Louis, NASCAR Xfinity in Road America, Southern Modifieds from Asheboro, North Carolina, and a whole bunch of short track racing. Thank you all for watching. I will see you next week.